Dead Space Remake review. This is on the IGN channel. I wanted to check this out because I've never played any Dead Space video game ever in my life for the 30 years that I have existed. And I know that they're having a remake. It's coming out tomorrow. And I kind of wanted to check it out because I understand that they're upgrading the graphics, the textures, and everything else like that. And I at least want to see some gameplay for a person that's never played the game before. And I gotta sit here and admit, so months back, I really did want to play Forspoken. But it seems like after watching at least 4 hours of gameplay footage, because I wasn't quite sure if I was actually gonna get the game or not, but seeing that game, it's just, but when I see Dead Space, I'm like, maybe I'll probably get this over Forspoken. And I don't want to get too much in the reasons of why I'll probably choose one over the other, but this is about Dead Space Remake review, so I'm gonna turn this on for you guys and let's watch this. See what they're talking about.
Never mind the numerous necromorphs, the tortured torsos sprouting out of walls, or the terrifyingly towering space sphincter. The thing I was most scared of going into the Dead Space remake is that it wouldn't live up to my fond memories of the fantastically horrific 2008 original. After just over 12 hours spent stalking through the revitalized USG Ishimura, I'm happy to report that of the many things to legitimately fear about this haunted space Hulk, that was not one of them. This new Dead Space enhances the original in almost every way, taking a plasma cutter to drop its ugliest appendages on the cutting room floor, while preserving the essence of what made its distinctly dismemberment-heavy shooting so special, and grafting on welcome new character details in order to present its creepy sci-fi horror story in its very best light, and its most intimidating shadows. Woo! If you missed it the first time around, Dead Space takes the action-oriented brand of survival horror established by Resident Evil 4, evolves the combat with a combination of gunplay and the ability to throw objects with kinesis and temporarily slow down enemies with a stasis power, and forces you to unlearn everything you know about killing zombies. Its hordes of agitated mutants must be blasted limb from limb, as opposed to being instantly dropped with a headshot. It sets its strategic brand of slaughter on board a doomed spaceship that seems straight out of Event Horizon, and focuses on the determined plight of engineer Isaac Clarke and his increasingly disturbing search for his scientist wife, Nicole.
Nicole? Yeah, first have heard from her in weeks.
Although it spawned sequels, comic books, and even a spiritual successor in the form of 2022's The Callisto Protocol, in my mind nothing has come close to exceeding Isaac's first heavy footsteps onto the deck of the Ishimura. At least until now.
Yeah, that's what the Callisto Protocol tried to do.
Made some major renovations to Dead Space's House of Horrors, and boy do I love what they've done with the place. For one, it looks amazing. The supreme level of detail on Isaac's instantly recognizable engineering suit alone makes that of the original look like a cheap fabric onesie plucked from the bottom shelf in a costume shop. Our ominous spaceship surroundings are made to feel substantially more spine-chilling thanks to the realistically weathered steel surfaces, and walls overrun with putridly pubescent levels of pus-filled pimples. And impressively moody lighting highlights the enhanced environmental detail, while keeping plenty of corners cloaked in shadow, and us in the dark in terms of what might be lurking in them. Not only does the Ishimura look more striking than ever before, it's also been restructured to encourage more exploration. For starters, you can now shuttle freely back and forth between the tram station connecting all the different decks, and you can also travel between certain areas on foot via new corridors like those that connect the flight deck to the medical deck, or indeed off your feet in other sections. A spectacular new zero-gravity detour that takes you from the hangar bay to engineering is just one area that takes advantage of the far more liberating flight controls that allow you to manually steer Isaac through space as opposed to beaming him in straight lines from surface to surface. The benefit of this more interconnected Ishimura is twofold, since not only does it engender a far greater sense of place than the more sectioned off original, but it also allows for backtracking to access previously locked doors as Isaac's security level increases over the course of the journey.
Clearance confirmed.
Giving you the chance to discover weapon upgrade schematics and various other treasures, and making progression feel a bit more like a murder-heavy Metroid.
Ship of Dreams.
Dead Dead Space's combat remains focused on literally disarming and or dislegging each snarling flesh golem, rather than wasting ammo on their brainless heads or spongy torsos. Enemy types resemble the same gaggle of ghouls that seem to have been plucked right off John Carpenter's Pinterest board, but there appears to have been a few notable tweaks made to the variety of threats that you have to encounter. The acid-vomiting variations of the basic spike-handed slasher seem to be far more common here than I remember them being in the original, and they kept me on my toes even after I'd sheared off their legs from a seemingly safe distance.
Ooh.
Meanwhile, the hypermobile twitches seem far more frenetic than before, and really put my aiming ability and stasis reserves to the test.
Oh, hell no. That thing was coming at me.
Flesh and bone to blast away, not only ratcheting up the gore, but also giving you a clear visual indication of how close you are to lopping off a limb, which is extremely handy when you're trying to prioritize a room full of twisted targets.
Now, I gotta say,
Dead Space also finds creative new ways to keep...
When I was playing the Callisto Protocol,
often via the cunning use of the new circuit breakers,
it seemed like it took so much to take out those enemies because you had to shoot their limbs off and everything while you're meleeing or you're using your actual weapons. It seemed like it took eons and forever to wipe out these enemies. This game looks like you could just pop a couple of shots and the enemies targeting limbs will at least come off as efficiently. So
as each necromorph
I don't know.
Field of view.
I know that was one of the things that a lot of people were talking about with Callisto Protocol.
Odds, including stasis tanks that can detonate with wide areas of effect, plunging a group of enemies into temporary slow motion, and giving you a precious moment to decide whether to stay and shoot their legs off, or use your own legs to bolt for the nearest exit. All throughout the tension-filled adventure, Motive Studio has kept Dead Space's best moments largely intact, while dramatically overhauling and paring back its weakest scenes. The first fight against a regenerating hunter plays out in the same intense, close-quarters style as it did previously, because that brilliantly pulse-raising encounter is just as effective now as it was 15 years ago. By contrast, the much-maligned asteroid blasting sequence in the story's first half has been completely discarded and dramatically redone. Instead of being stuck in a gunner's seat struggling to fend off an asteroid shower with a pair of rapidly overheating cannons, we must now head out into space and calibrate the Ishimura's defense system by boosting between each cannon and manually calling each strike, while hulking chunks of space rock spin past our noses towards the ship's hull. It takes a sequence that was previously an aggravating chore and transforms it into an utterly exhilarating challenge. And it's just one of a number of examples that greatly refine some of the original game's rougher edges. In addition to a host of quality of life improvements across the board, I particularly like the way that weapons are now found in the world rather than simply being bought from the store for large sums of credits. It's smart to introduce a no-money down test drive of Dead Space's 7 weapon types, particularly for newcomers to the series. And although I admittedly settled on the same plasma cutter, line gun and force gun combo that I employed in my multiple playthroughs of the original game, they each felt even more fun to use thanks to new perks like Incendiary Fire that can be unlocked via the smartly retooled upgrade system. By the time I'd reached the formidable final boss, I'd augmented my favourite suite of repurposed mining tools with enough extra power to bring a tear to the eye of Tim the Toolman Taylor.
An affair to dismember.
The monsters in Dead Space aren't the only things with more meat on their bones. And indeed, Isaac's story has been fleshed out with satisfying new helpings of extra detail. There's an entirely new multi-part side mission devoted to following a trail of holographic logs that reveal his wife Nicole's most recent movements before the necromorph outbreak.
Medical is overwhelmed. We need help.
Along with other audio and text files that better explain the strained status of the couple's relationship and the role that the mysterious Church of Unitology played in Isaac's upbringing. As a result, I found that I was able to achieve a far deeper understanding of Isaac's wavering mental and emotional state this time around, and although the overall story arc is broadly the same as the original, this added context, along with some clever character tweaks, meant that its shocking final twist felt considerably more plausible. Dead Space's main man is humanised even further by his ability to talk, rather than merely accept his crewmates' orders without so much as a silent nod of acknowledgement like he did in the original. Actor Gunnar Wright, who voiced Isaac in the Dead Space sequels, delivers a suitably stoic performance, and it makes Isaac feel like a far more influential figure when he's actively debating plans of attack with Chief Security Officer Hammond, as opposed to just tackling each task like a deep space dog's body.
The hydrazine tank might blow it open. Just need a detonator like Maybe a shock pad.
Thankfully, this is done sparingly. Isaac only speaks when spoken to and doesn't deliver Nathan Drake-style quips while he's pruning limbs off space zombies like they're the bloodiest kind of bonsai tree. Instead, his moment-to-moment status is indicated by his heavy breathing and his hurried heartbeat heard in moments of eerie silence, exactly as it should be.
What's the verdict?
With its stunningly redesigned spaceship, smartly and subtly enhanced story,
that looks way better than the
action scenes, Motive Studio has managed
the other
to
things that was trying to pull you in Callisto Protocol.
Sci-fi horror universe of Dead Space. Despite the fact I've returned to the 2008 original several times over the years and found it to hold up fairly well, my latest journey through the darkened hallways of the USG Ishimura still managed to consistently surprise me and pull me into Isaac's plight far more than ever before, while still satisfying my desire to butcher undead astronauts with an enjoyable arsenal of wildly unsafe mining tools. It's clear that this superb Dead Space remake has been a labour of love for the team at Motive Studios, who very carefully balanced innovation and renovation with preservation, and to their credit, the end result is undoubtedly the definitive way to experience, or re-experience, one of the best survival horror shooters that Capcom never made. For more IGN reviews, check out our verdicts on Forspoken and Fire Emblem Engage. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
It's so damn funny because they like to just give everything mostly a freaking 7, so you barely see numbers higher up or lower in score. What I gotta say is this game looked damn fine as far as the graphics, the texturing, the rendering, the gameplay itself. It looks very decent, very good than its predecessor that came out in 2008, because like I said earlier before, I've never played it. But it kind of looks like, to me, the original Dead Space. I think if I explain this world, like the filter grain and the whole entire background and everything, just the look of it, it looks a bit more scarier than the newer one. So what I'm trying to say is if you see like modern movies today, notice how we have such technology with CGI and everything else like that, and with these close shots and everything. It will always seem like, to me, older movies will be way more scarier than the modern ones because of the, like I said, the film graming and film graming and the look of itself. And like if I take A Nightmare on Elm Street, right, came back in the 80s and stuff like that, and let's say if there's a modern scary movie that comes out today, I would be way much more afraid to be in a position that's on Nightmare on Elm Street than a scary movie that just comes out today, because it's just the heck I'm gonna be afraid for. It just, even though we've seen a lot of movies and stuff like this and it's merely the same thing, but I think sometimes the original can be way more appealing and more frightening, than to its supposed as what's coming out in modern today. So I think the original Dead Space looked a bit way more scarier than this one. But I will say at least the graphics and everything else. Now I could be wrong, but the graphics and everything else and the gameplay I do love about this review, and just to look at the game, it looks amazing, and just chef's kiss. But also, let me know if you guys, if I were to get this, right, and I would play this on my channel, and now there would be no face cam and nothing like that, because I'm having some kind of problems right now, which I don't want to explain here. But I will buy this and play it, and I will have it on the channel if you guys would like to see it. I know that there are a bunch of channels on YouTube that you guys can watch that play this game, do walkthroughs and everything, and that's fine, totally fine. But if you wouldn't mind seeing my gameplay, which I'm trying to get back to, put more games onto my channel, and before I reach the actual goal where I want to be. But if you guys wouldn't mind, I don't mind getting the game and doing it. I pretty much would choose this over Forspoken, as I just seen through this whole entire review. But yeah, man, Dead Space Remake looks damn awesome. And you mentioned this. There were a lot of things that Callisto Protocol missed that I seen that was so done well in this remake. But I know that Callisto Protocol was basically the prep before this remake came out. And I really wanted the Callisto Protocol to do very well. I think it's a good game, but it's just, you know, hitting the enemies, you know, targeting their limbs, and it just seems like you have to hit them forever just for them to die, or even if you have to shoot some of the enemies that have extra tentacles, and just in case if you don't kill them fast, they just have this fast rate of growth spurt and just change into another whole nother beast, and then you gotta use more ammo and more melee time to even kill it. And I don't know, I think there were a lot of things that were missing in Callisto Protocol that maybe Dead Space Remake may offer to the fans that are, you know, fans for Dead Space for the longest time, or maybe people who are newer to the series itself. But yeah, that's all I wanted to mention. I'm sorry if this video was too long. Felt like I want to kind of go over that. But anywho, on the way out, if you watch this video this far, I appreciate it. But on the way out, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for more content in the future. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this reaction to this Dead Space Remake trailer or review from IGN. And yeah, I will talk to you guys later. Peace.